The method of transmuting uses the human system or human body's natural healing impulse, which is why it's a safe and free method. Transmuting is the process of alchemy, of transforming or alchemizing our troubling thoughts and emotions into their original state or original condition, from where we can feel a deeply profound peace. It's the process of transforming conflicted and congested thought and emotion-based energies into purer energies, which in my case imbibed deep peace and inner power. Now, you may be skeptical that such a simple process of feeling to heal could be so transformative. It certainly was in my case. In yours, I guess you'll have to try it for yourself. And I will now give clear instructions on how to do that. The feel to heal process of transmuting is very simple, but not always easy. It's about being in tune with, and very importantly, completely at peace with, any difficult emotions and sensations moving through our system, even when they're uncomfortable. By simply allowing these emotions to be exactly what they want to be and flow exactly how they want to flow, the emotions or energies, because emotions are just energies after all, transmute or transform. What this means is that they return to their original state, which is one of purity. So I'll say that again slowly. By very simply allowing emotions to be exactly as they are and flow exactly as they want to flow, they alchemize or transform to their original pristine condition. It's that simple. But again, please don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Now, you may wonder why this transformation occurs. Why do our emotions transform into something else essentially when we allow them to flow? Well, there are very clear reasons why it happens, which I will certainly explain in various videos. But for now, let me ask you this. If you try this method and find that in your experience it's true, that when allowed to flow, your emotions transform from being conflicted to peaceful, does this mean that there is indeed a natural healing impulse within you? If so, is this empowering, even life-changing? For now, before you've tried this method for yourself, let me suggest that what you may feel after transmuting troubling thoughts and emotions is a lightness and freedom like you've never felt before. And the more you do it, the lighter you may become. Eventually, you may become that pristine state, which is the state of awakening or enlightenment as Eastern traditions have sought and found for thousands of years. But more on that in other videos. So an important point to make here, and as I've already hinted at, is that transmuting is a very simple process, yes, but it's not so easy. This is because most of the time we humans reject or suppress negative emotions in an effort not to feel them, even subtly, and this will impair the transmutation process. And believe me, we repress and suppress our emotions a lot. So instead of suppressing your emotions, if you really allow grief, sadness, despair, depression, anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, and anger to simply flow through you at whatever level of intensity they want to flow, watch what happens to those emotions. Again, it sounds simple, right? But again, it's not so easy. You will see this for yourself in that the more and more aware of your emotional states you become, the more and more aware you will become of just how strong the human tendency is to suppress or reject so-called negative emotions from flowing freely through our systems. And again, this impairs the transmutation process. But as you practice transmuting more and more deeply, the deeper the release from your system may be, and the deeper the peace that follows may be. But, and this is crucial, the process of being with our emotions very closely necessarily implies not throwing those emotions over others, as one might do in anger, for instance. Instead, if you feel anger, just sit with it, feel it in full, and patiently watch and wait. What does it become? Then, how do your feelings about the situation that made you angry change? Then, how have you changed more permanently? At this point, I need to mention that intention is a big part of this process. It's incredibly important, so I'll demonstrate what I mean by intention with an example. So again, let's take the emotion of anger. You might think, I feel really angry right now and I want to lash out at this person who has supposedly caused my anger. In this way, I'll feel like I can get rid of the anger by laying it on the person who is supposedly to blame. But here comes my intention. Actually, I won't lash out. Instead, my intention is to sit with the anger. I'll welcome it, I'll feel it in full, I'll take responsibility for it, and I'll own it. Furthermore, I'll allow myself to eventually feel the emotion sitting beneath the anger, which is likely to be hurt, sadness, fear, or rejection. Now, simply watch what happens when you take that first path, lashing out, versus the second path, taking full responsibility. Watch what happens over the long term. Let's take another emotion, deep depression. You might think, I'm so hopeless and stupid, I shouldn't have done what I just did. But here comes my intention. Actually, I won't blame myself. Instead, my intention is to sit with the depression without feeding it with any kind of mental story like, I'm stupid. So, what is it like to just feel the depression without a story? How does it feel in my body? Let me welcome and totally embrace this feeling, even if it's uncomfortable. Make no mistake, while it's incredibly simple to transmute thoughts and emotions in a sense, it's not easy to take that second path of taking full responsibility. It's not easy to just make a decision to align your intention towards completely owning your emotions without your mind going into overdrive with a story attached to those emotions. It's very easy in the moment to blame either others or ourselves. But even if you do get onto the mental treadmill of blame for a while, know that at any time you can shift your intention away from blame and towards ownership and responsibility. So it's okay to get a little stuck. We can change that whenever we want. Over time, observe what happens to your tendency towards anger or depression in the long term. If you take the first path of blame, either of yourself or others, does your tendency towards anger or depression increase over the long term? I'd think so. But if you take that second path of taking responsibility, does your tendency towards anger or depression decrease over the long term? I would think so. But again, you watch for yourself. And again, this process applies to all emotions, like fear, anxiety, guilt, and shame. This is why the process of transmuting necessarily involves taking full ownership and responsibility for one's emotions by feeling them in full. The alchemization can only happen with our full acceptance of these emotions. So make no mistake, it's your choice how you respond to your emotions. And this is what I mean by the importance of exercising your intention. Intention really is incredibly powerful, and the more you exercise it, the more innate having a choice around these issues will become. I would like people to consider using these methods to address mental and emotional issues. While Eastern methods like transmuting are often used in Western therapy in some form or other, I'm specifically referring to Eastern methods in their purer forms. And I'm about to talk about what I mean by purer forms. So, moving this teaching up a notch here to a higher level of teaching. Using Eastern methods in their most powerful, concentrated, and pure forms means the following. It means beginning to question the very nature of what we are. For example, are we our troubling thoughts and emotions, or are we the conscious awareness that lies beneath them? This very simple question, which is not so easy to discover in answer at the experiential level, as opposed to just answering the question at a cognitive level, if embraced wholeheartedly and experientially, which I'm about to explain, this question can be immensely powerful and transformative. So, to explain this a little, when we believe our thoughts and emotions, we identify with them, in that we feel that we are them in a sense. For example, when a thought of "I'm hopeless" is believed, it's owned in that we feel that we are hopeless, and such thoughts create our suffering. But are these thoughts really true? Eastern traditions have taught about the link between thinking and suffering for thousands of years, but you don't need to reference them in order to know it for yourself. You only need to look closely at what happens when you believe your own thoughts and emotions. So take a look for yourself. Now, we may not realize it as we're doing it. However, when transmuting, we are, at the most fundamental level, questioning the nature of our thoughts and emotions. So how are we doing this? Well, we're doing it via the human system's natural healing impulse as opposed to a more intellectual or cognitive process. And I personally find that body-based processes are more powerful than cognitive ones, but that's just me. To explain this a little, by being totally okay with so-called negative thoughts and emotions, by in a sense bringing them into ourselves, by allowing them to flow through us the way they want to, with no judgment or condemnation or separation from them whatsoever, by creating a total union with them and by collapsing any separation between us and our thoughts and emotions, we open all the parts of ourselves to ourselves. Absolutely nothing is left out. By not rejecting, repressing, or closing out troubling thoughts and emotions, they come into being us, so to speak. What happens then is nothing short of mind-blowing because we human beings have a breathtakingly beautiful and amazingly efficient system. When no longer separated out, when welcomed in, these supposedly negative thoughts and emotions transmute or transform or alchemize into their more pristine state. From this place, peace and personal power can arise. Again, this is something you could try today because it's natural, safe, and free. And again, I simply must ask you, if from your very own practice you find that it's true that your emotions do indeed transform from being difficult and conflicted to serene and peaceful when you allow them to flow, could it be that your human system does have its own powerful, natural healing impulse? And again, is this empowering? So, via transmuting, we have experienced in our body-mind system that thoughts and emotions are not what we thought they were. We previously feared them and rejected them, treating them like our enemies when in fact they were just a part of us that was conflicted. When welcomed, they purified, and when purified, they no longer bother us. So at the most fundamental level, they never really were what we thought they were when we believed them. When we opened to them, they became something else entirely, and we realize their fundamental nature was not conflicted. It's actually pure consciousness. In this way, we are questioning the fundamental nature of our thoughts and emotions when we are transmuting, just not intellectually, but through a mind-body process that transforms those conflicted emotions from what we thought they were, conflicted, to what they really are, pure. I hope that makes sense. Much more importantly, though, I hope it's something you experience for yourself. I hope that you feel freer, more alive, and more empowered when you completely allow your emotions to flow and then experience them transform for yourself. So, the foundational building block of Eastern systems is that we are not our thoughts and emotions, but rather the conscious awareness that lies beneath them. This is also the source of their healing and transformative power. By questioning our thoughts and emotions and by discovering what we really are more and more, we're accessing the pure, concentrated forms of Eastern techniques in all their potential power. If you want to access the full transformative power of Eastern systems, which I feel has been somewhat lost in secular meditation and mindfulness practices, for example, you need not become a Buddhist. Instead, the next time you're experiencing distress, along with troubling thoughts and emotions, ask yourself, either during or after transmuting, were those thoughts and emotions really true? Was the story behind them true? If not, how true are the rest of my thoughts and emotions? How true will they be the next time I feel distressed? Then, if you keep questioning distressing thoughts and emotions as you transmute them, observe if and how quickly you transform over time. So, I invite you to try this simple but granted not so easy technique for yourself. Are you curious to discover the profound peace that may well sit beneath your conflicted thoughts and emotions?